Hey guys, this is Cole. I don't have an avatar yet, so I'll just use this background for now. Today, we'll cover Riley J. Dennis over a video he published a little over a week ago. It spreads a bunch of misinformation about genders, suggesting that genders are completely based off of feelings, despite things such as science and facts. Well, I guess there's no better time to get started than now.
Okay, so you've never heard of a non-binary gender before, and out of nowhere, someone tells you that they're non-binary. What exactly does that mean? And is it even a real thing? Yeah, yes it is. Sorry, that was a really bad cliffhanger.
At least you can admit you have a horrible sense of humor, but no, non-binary does not exist.
Non-binary genders are real, even though they've only gained public visibility relatively recently. A non-binary gender is essentially a gender that is not strictly woman or man.
So it's not a woman or a man, so it doesn't exist? Okay.
So to figure out what I mean by that, we have to talk about what gender is. And when it comes down to it, gender is how you feel and identify.
Really, dude? You're using feelings to define something? What the heck? As I said before, and as my background says, I don't care about feelings. I care about facts.
Let's say you were born with a penis and assigned male at birth because of that. Then you grew up and identified as a boy, and then you identified as a man, and you've never had any doubts about that, and you're perfectly okay identifying like that. That would make you a cisgender man, and vice versa for cisgender women. Now, you've probably heard of the term transgender before. So a transgender person is someone who doesn't identify with the gender they were assigned at birth.
Okay, Riley, I don't really see what your point is here.
So, for instance, if you were born with a penis and assigned male at birth because of that, but later grew up and felt that you identified more strongly with being a girl or a woman, that would make you a trans woman. That narrative you're probably a little more comfortable with. Now let's just change one small detail to explain non-binary genders. Let's say you were born with a penis and assigned male at birth, but when you grew up, you didn't identify with being a man or a woman. Neither identity felt quite right for you. That would make you a non-binary person.
Except non-binary is not even a thing, Riley. I mean, come on. You're a man or you're a woman. There's no in-between. It's easy.
Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that that's not possible because men have penises and women have vaginas. But you know it's not that simple. Transgender people exist. There are women who have penises and men who have vaginas. That's pretty mainstream and well accepted by now.
Oh boy, this is going to be a long rebuttal. First off, sure, some men have vaginas and some women have penises. This is usually, however, because they went through gender reassignment surgery. But going back to what you said, a man is not defined as someone with a penis. A man is someone with an XY chromosome pair. Phenotypes or physical traits don't matter, neither do feelings. The only thing that matters is the genotype, what is in your DNA. And no, transgenderism being a valid thing is not, as you said, mainstream.
LGBT plus rights are widely supported, and that T stands for transgender. So if you can understand that sometimes people don't identify with the gender they were assigned at birth, then I think you can understand that they might also not completely identify with the other major gender. And where that leaves them is identifying as some sort of third option, a non-binary gender.
Well, sure. LGBTQRSTWYZ plus rights are widely accepted. Calm down, it was only a joke. The idea that you can just identify as whatever you want is flawed, with no scientific backing. You can't just identify as non-binary. That's not how it works. It would be a whole lot easier if you guys just realized that gender equals sex.
Every major LGBT plus organization in the US recognizes that non-binary genders exist.
Okay? I don't see what your point is, Riley. I don't care about what LGBT organizations say. Also, Riley, you made a slight grammatical error. I wonder if you can find it.
They're slowly gaining visibility and acceptance. They've been around for thousands of years in various cultures, and what you're seeing today is just people finding the language to describe how they feel.
What's your source that they've been around for thousands of years? Or did you just hear that from BuzzFeed? I surely don't see where they were historically myself.
I'm not going to try and convince you that non-binary genders are real in this video because I think that if you really don't want to believe it, you won't.
If you're not trying to convince me, then why even try and make this video in the first place?
But I will ask you to be open-minded and understanding and compassionate for experiences that are unlike your own. Not everyone experiences the world in the same way that you do, and you have to recognize that.
I am aware, Riley. You don't know how it is to be conservative. There are people on the internet who say I am racist and sexist just because I am a white male. Affirmative action gives non-whites an unfair advantage over me when I'm looking for a job or a college. Start showing some compassion for the people who you assume are transphobic because they don't see any scientific evidence for your condition being valid.
As non-binary genders gradually gain public acceptance, recognizing that they exist will put you on the right side of history in the long run.
The right side of history? I think society will see me on the right side of history when it is not my policies, but your policies, that will cause the collapse of Western civilization.
All of that being said, let's get into some more detailed aspects of it. For one, many people consider non-binary people to fall under the trans umbrella. That's because trans means not identifying with the gender you were assigned at birth, and non-binary people certainly don't identify with the gender they were assigned at birth. So many people identify as trans and non-binary.
Since when can you have multiple genders at the same time? I must have missed the memo.
Another thing to note is that many non-binary folks use they-them pronouns instead of he, him, or she-her. This might be confusing at first, using they-them for a single person, but you'll get used to it pretty quickly. There's actually a lot of historical precedent for the singular they, and in fact, many of us already use it to refer to singular people when we don't yet know their gender.
Okay, time for a little grammar lesson. They is the third person plural pronoun. Third person singular pronouns are he, she, it, or one. And informally, they is not used to describe someone with an unknown gender, but with an unspecified gender, predominantly when we just don't care or when we have no way of knowing. Therefore, using they, them for a person of a known gender is simply and fundamentally incorrect.
I promise you, with a little bit of effort, referring to a non-binary person as they, them is totally possible. But not all non-binary people use they, them pronouns. Some use he, him, or she, her for a variety of reasons. One of those reasons might be that they identify as both a man and non-binary, or as a woman and non-binary.
Well, Riley, like I said before, you can't be two genders at once. That's not how it works.
For instance, I'm a woman and I'm non-binary, because I feel like on the gender spectrum, mine lands somewhere in between gender neutral and super feminine, so I identify with both terms.
Oh, now I see why you identify with two genders. It makes you more of a victim. Well, sorry, Riley, but your voice phenotype clearly shows that you are a man.
The same can happen for non-binary trans men. Also, non-binary itself is both a label and an umbrella term. Many people identify as a more specific gender under the non-binary umbrella, like genderqueer, gender non-conforming, agender, bigender, gray gender, or many others.
Thanks for pushing a bunch of fake genders on us, Riley. Well, guys, Riley J. Dennis is clearly as uninformed about things like science as ever. I'll see you guys later, and hopefully I don't have to cover Riley again for a little bit. I've had enough of his misinformation.